You're a boy who grew up in the 90s. You're a girl who grew up in the 90s. Among the first things you decided to do when you woke up this morning was post another blasted Shao Tucker meme. You heard about anime through the grapevine and latched onto the first thing that looked like it in middle school. Same thing as Teen Titans, but you did it in high school. You quit watching anime after Saturday morning cartoons went out of style. Same thing as Pokemon, but you didn't have a Game Boy growing up. Same thing as Digimon, but you're also kind of an antisocial loser now. Roughly 80% of your grasp of the Japanese language is just quotes from this show. Roughly 80% of your grasp of Japanese history comes from this show. You probably enjoyed Game of Thrones until about the 6th or 7th season. You've tried more than once to convince people that The Walking Dead is still worth watching. You don't really know what anime is, but you spend far too much time and money at Hot Topic. Same thing as Invader Zim, but edgier. Your mother often says that she's worried about you and that you need to get out more and meet some people. Okay, boomer. Same thing as Speed Racer, but slightly less so. You're not old enough to have Dragon Ball Z as your first shonen anime, but not young enough to have Fairy Tail as your first shonen anime. You're basically the weeb equivalent of the PC Master Race crowd. Your friends probably haven't heard from you in about 6 months. But you are starting to show signs of life. You're a sexually frustrated teen girl who's a little confused about what the term anime is allowed to entail. You're a sexually frustrated teen boy who's afraid to talk about his sensitive side. You're a sexually frustrated teen girl who has hitherto shown no interest in any sport whatsoever. You're a sexually frustrated teen boy who still has no interest in any sport whatsoever. This is probably the only anime you watch seriously. Okay, maybe that one too. You're a big fan of the MCU and all, but you wish that DC would hurry up and get their act together. 40% of you came here from Naruto, 40% of you came here from Fairy Tail, 20% of you came here from Hunter x Hunter, all of you are MCU fans. You're a sapiosexual and you spend your free time reading mostly non-fiction. You'd never admit it, but you'll watch a Hallmark movie if someone leaves one on. You think trashing all other mecha anime is the same as having a personality. Same thing as Gurren Lagann, but you also spend an unhealthy amount of time on incognito tabs. You're in this show somewhere, and you don't like it. You're a sexually frustrated adult woman who ironically thinks that cartoons are kiddie stuff. You're a 90s kid who wasn't allowed to watch anime growing up. You're a 2000s kid who wasn't allowed to watch anime growing up. You're a full-grown adult who for some reason still isn't allowed to watch anime. Your taste in women is peculiar, to put it politely. Your taste in women is very peculiar. I got some bad news for you, bro. You're an existentialist with severe trust issues. You're too young to have grown up on Sailor Moon. You typed the wrong thing into Google one day and said, "Bump it, let it play." You always thought the Home Alone movies really didn't go deep or dark enough. The Magic School Bus made up a large part of your formative education, and you firmly believe that there's still a place for that kind of programming today. Same thing as Cells at Work, but you're also either a 12-year-old edgelord, at least at heart, a sapiosexual teen girl, or both. You're a substance-abusing college student who thinks South Park constitutes some form of high art. Your parents are probably disappointed in you and are just too polite to tell you. Your friends are probably disappointed in you and are just too polite to tell you. Your dog is probably disappointed in you and is just too polite to tell you. You're not being the person Mr. Rogers believed you could be. You need prayer. And probably a hug. You think Cowboy Bebop is overrated. You think Neon Genesis Evangelion is overrated. You still think Cowboy Bebop is overrated. You just don't give a fuck. You either have decent taste in comedy, or Chris Hansen is setting up cameras in your kitchen as you're seeing this. Maybe both. You're a full-grown adult, and you're still waiting for your letter from Hogwarts. You're a sexually frustrated teen girl who just finished the Twilight trilogy and are desperately looking for your next fix. Same thing as Black Butler, but you could also be a boy. Your parents never supported your musical aspirations, and this is your way of coping. This show says more about you than I ever could. A. You've grown facial hair waiting for a decent video game to cinema adaptation. This applies regardless if you're a man or a woman. B. You're a closeted goth with a Netflix account. Basically the same as Soul Eater, but even more edgy. C. You're a sexually frustrated adult woman who's just here for some saucy man voices. Or D. Some combination of the above. Your definition of anime is expansive enough to include radio shows, vaudeville theater, and lost panels of Gary Larson's The Far Side. You've recently developed a newfound respect for the due process of law. You've been in counseling for confidentially undisclosed reasons, and your folks have to keep reminding you to stop bringing it up during family get-togethers. You're a boy who grew up in the 90s, but you never actually grew up, did you?